Okay, coming up on our Finding Better podcast, we're going to talk about something that could be the most consequential thing in all of our lives that's happening right now that could give us a fresh start in terms of finding better in our lives. And that is artificial intelligence. Marnie Wills is joining me. And the thing that I'm so excited about and makes her so special is that she's a PE teacher turned AI strategist. And so a lot of people think that artificial intelligence is for like technology geeks and stuff like that. She's a regular person and she is amazing. And she gives us in this episode step-by-step processes and step-by-step products that we can use as easily as using Google. Every one of you uses Google, I think, probably. So with that, this is an amazing conversation that you can walk away with actionable things you could do right now and get to work. Please share this. Here we go. Hello, and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki. I'm your host, and this is where we share real life experiences of people who have been there and done that in terms of whatever it is we're talking about. Because sometimes the best path to success is to follow in the footsteps of others. My guest today is Marnie Wills, and I am thrilled to have this conversation with her because we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. And, and this is one of those things where the reason why I'm so excited about it is because Marnie was a PE teacher who has turned herself into an AI strategist and a business transformation expert with AI. And, we're all hearing about AI. We're all seeing more and more of it all the time. And, right now we have it's this window of opportunity. The world is being transformed before our very eyes. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to, Marnie, is you opening our eyes in terms of what's going on out there, because there are so many people out there who are like you and me, like PE teachers or teachers, just regular people, right? And so many people think, oh my gosh, artificial intelligence. First, I don't know what artificial means. Secondly, intelligence sounds really complicated and intimidating, right? And so, Marnie, welcome to Finding Better. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me, John. Really excited to chat today.
Yeah, and I just want to learn about your journey. You by profession and by education, you were a teacher. You didn't graduate from MIT. You didn't graduate from a technology institute, right? You were a teacher, and yet here we are. You're an AI strategist and a business transformation expert. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole transformation expert part of it has to do with AI, right?
Absolutely. I've used AI to transform many parts of my life and businesses.
And this has not been over decades. I mean, when we talked about this, I mean, this was literally over the last year and a half, right? And and so you have become an expert on AI in the last year and a half. And I think about experts, right? Whether it be an expert programmer, an expert developer, or an expert computer person, or physicist, or plumber, or electrician. To become an expert generally takes decades. And yet you become an expert in this in a year and a half. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I think when I think expert, you think 10,000 hours, right? And that's what we
Yeah.
say in our athlete, in my athlete, coming from my athlete background. Um, you know, I'm not counting, but I've probably done almost 10,000 hours. And I think in terms of in terms of AI, I definitely say I'm a generative AI expert. And by that, I mean that I am constantly learning. I am constantly evolving. I'm constantly keeping up with the thought leadership around Gen AI and what it's doing in helping society, helping people, individuals, how it's changing industries, changing jobs. And I use it day in and day out for hours at a time for myself and for my clients. So there you go. That's why I think I'm an expert.
So you talked about generative AI and you talked about generative, quote unquote, generative relative to you, which means you're constantly learning, you're constantly evolving, you're constantly moving forward and learning new things, right? And that's exactly what the AI is doing as well, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about is generative AI is AI that is constantly learning with you. And the more you put into it and the more it gets to know you, the more accurate it is, right? And
Absolutely.
so tell us about a little bit about your journey from PE teacher to AI expert.
Yeah. So, like you said, I didn't graduate MIT. I just graduated from the life of hard knocks, as I like to call it. Graduated as a PE teacher, moved over to London from sunny Australia. And in Australia, everybody loved PE teachers. I've wanted to be one since I was 5. They're the coolest, teachers in the world. And then I get to the UK, especially London, and no one likes PE teachers. We're not cool at all. So it was definitely
Oh,
a hard shift for me. Yeah, it was
why?
definitely a hard shift for me. I think it's the culture in the UK versus Australia. Like in Australia, you grow up playing sports, doing sport every single day. You get taught in mixed genders. Um, there's no exclusions. The weather's better,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
here in the UK, and you're taught by professional, qualified physical education teachers, just like USA, Canada, Singapore, New Zealand. Not so much in the UK. In primary schools, especially,
Oh,
it's just taught by sports coaches or the classroom teacher that's had like 6 weeks training in PE. So just the value of PE isn't as recognized over here.
oh,
And then
interesting.
the pathways into sport is much, just not as strong, not as good. So it was a hard battle when I first moved over,
Hmm.
and I didn't love it. And I lasted 8 years, but I was trying to be a dual international athlete. I was trying to travel the world playing England netball and touch rugby, and they weren't professional sports; they were amateur sports. So at one point in time, the head teacher says, "Oh well, I would give you time off if you were a professional athlete." And I said, "Okay, well, if I was a professional athlete, I would be getting paid, so I wouldn't be here teaching and motivating and
That's
inspiring your
right.
children." But so I just decided that I wanted to start my own businesses, and I didn't start one, I started two. One was in health and fitness, so personal training, and the other was an early years physical education business. And then fast forward to COVID times and we went online. I learned all things online business there, and that's when I first discovered my first AI tool called Jasper AI, which was a
Mhm.
copywriting tool. And I was using that for both of my businesses, but in particular my sports education business, because I hired a copywriter, and although she was such a lovely lady, she wasn't very good at her job, and I couldn't quite get the message across that I wanted to portray, and the people that I wanted to come and join me as a franchise. And so we kind of departed ways, and I discovered Jasper, and honestly have not looked back since then. I just felt like I took very naturally to AI tools. In particular, I also started using like automations like Zapier when I was doing my online sales funnels, and I just think that I naturally understood the strategy behind. It's almost like you want an outcome and then you have to reverse engineer it. And I feel it's very similar to strategy in games. Big athlete, like I said, games player. It's like, how do we want the outcome to be the win? How do we get the win? We have to reverse engineer it. What's their opposition's strengths and weaknesses? What's our strengths and weaknesses? What do we need to do? Let's reverse the step back. How do we train for this game? Let's reverse the step back. How do we
But
prepare? So
as you're talking about that, when you're talking about reverse engineering, I want to be clear on something in my head, right? I mean, we're not talking about reversing our human thinking. I mean, what you just described is what we as humans would do. We would look at a problem, we'd figure out what the goal is, and then we'd reverse engineer it backwards and go, okay, how are we going to get from where we are to where we need to be, right? And so what you just described is, I just want to make sure I'm clear. You did describe the process of using AI, but the process you used of using AI is the same process that humans go through, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
just talking about, I want to learn about your experience with Jasper AI, right? So you hired this person to be your copywriter. How much did that cost you?
Oh gosh, it was about £3,500.
Okay, so three and a half thousand pounds. I know that pounds are worth more than dollars, and so we'll just call it
$4,000.
$4,000, right? Okay, and how much time did you spend with that person,
Oh gosh,
iterating and
actually,
going through, right, trying to figure out, going back and forth, days, weeks,
yeah,
months?
yeah, weeks. And I think the most frustrating bit was I couldn't get what I wanted up here out of my head to give enough guidance for her to be able to create the content or the messaging that we needed, because I hadn't quite worked it out up here in my head myself. And that was the most frustrating bit. And also, I guess I'm a human that doesn't like to mess people around. I feel like I don't want to waste their time, and I do want to
Sure.
get my view, but I don't want to, feel like I'm being awkward or annoying. I didn't want to be one of those clients. So then it got to the point where I just gave up.
Okay. Okay. And then you gave up that $4,000 weeks long experience and you found Jasper. And so how much does Jasper cost?
Oh gosh, back then I think it was $20 a
I was going to
month.
say $25 a month kind of thing, right? And how long did it take you to get your result that you wanted from the time you started to the time you got that result?
Half a day. But that was
Half a
just going
day.
back and forth. Yeah, that
Okay.
was going
So
back and forward.
okay, well, sure, sure. I mean, you're going to go back and I mean, okay. So AI in this case, Jasper is the copywriter, and just as you were working with a person to do the copywriting work, going back and forth, instead of working with that person, now you're working with AI, doing the same basic thing, right? But AI has got different intelligence. And Jasper probably is designed for copywriting. And so you went from $4,000 to 25 bucks. Is that 25 bucks a month?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so 25 bucks a month. Let's call it $300 a year. $4,000 to $300 a year.
Crazy, isn't it?
And you went from weeks and weeks and weeks to half a day.
Mm. And do you know what's even better, John? Is
Yeah.
what is even better is because I started using Jasper, what I call more strategically, which I didn't realize now until I look back, is I was using it to get my domain expertise from my head. So our domain expertise is our knowledge, our experience, our perspective. So I was using it to help me strategic. So rather than giving it a task, write me this copy for this franchise for sports education in the UK, I was using it like, I need you to collaborate with me to find out what type of um, new franchisees I would like to attract. What is special about my business? Ask me why I started my business. So ask me more questions to allow you to understand me, my aims, my missions, my values that link to the business, and therefore who I want to attract and work with. And I couldn't do that with the copywriter because they didn't have that same intelligence,
So
because
you were
AI, like you said,
so you instructed AI, right, to ask you questions,
yeah,
and
all the
AI
time.
would ask the questions then, and that's okay. So as they talk about AI being a learning technology, right? That's part of how. I mean, I know that there's lots of ways AI learns, and pretty soon it's going to learn on its own, and in some cases it already has. But in that case, you went through this iterative process because the more the AI, we're talking about it as person because it is kind of like a person, right? The more the AI knows you, the better it can serve you,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Okay. Okay, so now we've got a good definition of what this crazy thing called artificial, because most people are out there are not MIT graduates, are not technology experts. They're people just like you and me, right? And okay, so you had this aha moment. Oh, and by the way, I just want to clarify with folks is that the $25 a month that Jasper cost, I mean, if you just wanted after that one experience to cancel it, it was 25 bucks, right? I mean, you don't have to pay $300 if you don't want to. I mean, if you got done with it in that half day and said, "Hey, I'm great," you just traded 25 bucks, you just traded $4,000 for $25, right?
Yeah,
Which is
insane.
crazy. And the amazing thing about it is that it is now generative, right? I mean, it's not just taking all the information you just gave it and saying, I'm not going to use this anymore, right? You're going to build upon it and build upon it and build upon it. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So you had this aha moment and you said, "Holy cow, I just went through something big for my life." All right. Then what did you do?
Well, I had a lot of business success. I was attracting
Wonderful.
franchisees, and I was growing my online health and fitness business massively. So that was really good. And then fast forward to ChatGPT, end of 2022, obviously jumped straight on the bandwagon and haven't looked back since. I have completely changed my sports education business into a business partnership model, of which I used ChatGPT to help me do that. It's very similar to, say, a lawyer's firm, of where a partner buys in to the business and they become a partner. So we moved from franchising to there because franchising wasn't giving me, as the IP owner, I guess, enough leverage for those within the business, but also I wasn't earning enough money from it. And at the end of the day, I would like to make more impact in society, and the impact that that business makes is we get children active early on in life, loving all things sport and physical activity. And I wanted to grow bigger and better and faster. So I used ChatGPT to help me do that. And we launched our first business partnership in June last year. It was June the 10th. So we're coming on 1 year. And I literally
Woohoo.
on Wednesday last week signed my fifth business partner. So that is how it's transformed my business from that perspective. Yeah.
So tell us what a business partnership is relative to a franchise. Because in the United States, have a good idea what a franchise is, and partnerships can mean just about whatever you want it to mean. So what kind of partnership did you decide to move forward with?
Yeah, so where it stands at the moment, I've moved forward with a business partner, comes on board, and they invest a certain amount of money depending on the size of their region that they want to launch. My business is called Sporty Minis, so a Sporty Minis region. And for that license fee, they get 30% profit share. And then every time the region's profit hits a next threshold, their percentage of profit share increases to the top of 80%. So if we reach a certain threshold within the business, within that region, the business partner gets 80% profit share, and the Sporty Minis business, which is I'm sole owner of that we get 20% of the profit share. But
I
because
love
that
it.
threshold is quite high,
Yeah,
as we build as a region, my I guess percentage drops, but we're still increasing anyway because the business
right,
growth is
right.
increasing. And every year, the business partner has to invest that amount of money, otherwise they can't retain their shares, their profit share.
Okay. I love that. I love that because a big part of it, probably the biggest part of it, is that they're motivated. You're incentivizing them to
Yeah,
grow the business, right? Because the more they grow
yeah,
the business, the more money they're going to make, and the more of a percentage
yeah,
they're going to put in their pocket. That's wonderful.
yeah.
That's
And I
wonderful.
remember Sorry, I also remember two really key questions that ChatGPT asked me that were like
Hmm.
light bulb moments. One was, what do you hate about your business that you would want to change? And the bit that I hated was the logistics of trying to hire high quality sports coaches and have them deliver, and feeling let down by them constantly. Like
Hmm.
I just hated that part of the business because it's your name, it's your, you know,
Right.
it's your legacy, it's everything. And then and when ChatGPT suggested and we worked through and we got to business partnership, one of the reasons, one of the whys was having a business partner takes that load off you, and it's now becomes their name and their reputation and their success is linked to the success of the sports coaches as well. It doesn't all fall on my shoulders. Because the other question, which was really, really interesting that ChatGPT asked me was, what is your why for making such an impact? And I
Really?
guess, yeah,
It,
yeah.
well, that's pretty
It asked what
cool.
was my why. It was amazing. It was honestly amazing. And I've always had well, when I say always, I've definitely had my own mindset coach that I work with once a month, sometimes twice a month if I mentally need it. But you know, we always talk about always connecting my why and what does my calendar look like, and you know, am I really enjoying the journey? Because as an athlete and as a very competitive, high performing person, I'm always like tick tick, task done, next success. You know, I'm always like reaching, and I forget to be in the journey. I forget to be in the space. So it was really interesting when that question came up from ChatGPT, and actually it took me a little while to answer that. But I think the key thing that came from that is my brand and my personal values, and my brand values is creating opportunities for other people. And those opportunities aren't just for the children that get our program, it's for the nursery and early years practitioners who, you know, probably go up, they probably have to teach children all day, they're overworked, underpaid, they go up to the staff room and they pig out on chips and coke and, you know, all the bad things that don't give them enough energy, you know. But we come in and we inspire and motivate them to do something physical with the children, but also potentially have a better health and physical outlook themselves. But then also my sports coaches and now my business partners, I'm creating opportunities for those business partners now to have a business in a box that they can contribute to the impact and the passion. And I wouldn't have got to that space if it wasn't for good old ChatGPT. Thank you.
And you were using something different, but you said then Chat GPT came out. So what were you using before then? Were you using Jasper?
I
Was
was
that
just using
Jasper?
Jasper.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Then here comes Chat
yeah,
GPT, and all of a sudden your world changes. I am
yeah.
amazed. You know, I've been in technology. I am a tech guy, and I my whole career I retired 3 years ago from 38 years in high tech, and so I've seen the world change. You know, I started when there were punch cards. I mean, you can't find a punch card if your life depended on it. And then it went to fax machines. And then it went to PCs, right? When PCs without a hard drive are $5,000, and you know, and then all things started happening. You know, email and the internet, then mobile computing, then e-commerce, and every step of the way accelerated because technology builds technology. The acceleration that we're going through right now is we can't comprehend it. We can't comprehend it. And you know, one of my favorite sayings is there's three kinds of people: those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wake up one morning and say, "What happened?" And that's gonna be a lot of people, and that's why I'm so excited and so happy to have you as my guest, is because you know we're talking in terms that regular people can be thinking about. Um, Now, one of the things that you talk about is relationships and business, and you talk about you know because one of the things that people are really concerned about is AI going to take my job? Is AI going to replace me? What is your feeling from the standpoint of the human connection part of our future as it relates to AI coming in and quote unquote taking over?
Yeah, well, I did a strategy session similar to this today. So, um, and where I came into it from was I believe um, the mass adoption of generative AI tools as we see them now, and we know they're progressing forward, and I know we'll probably get touch on agents and super agents and so forth. But where we are right now, the mass adoption, we are going to be able to hopefully be way more productive and outsource and leverage AI for those main mundane tasks that hopefully is able to take us off our smartphones that I'm self-confessed addicted to, and want us to come back to human connection. So that's the first thing, is I think we're going to be way more productive. We're hopefully not going to be able to need our phone as much, and we're going to really want more human connection.
Okay.
The
Okay.
next,
So before you go to the next part, okay. And you brought up agents and super agents. Okay. The old saying, people have said, AI is not going to replace you. It's someone who knows AI that's going to replace you. And so when you say we're going to be much more productive, how are we going to get more productive? And um, and for the layperson out there who doesn't know AI, what do they need to do?
oh, okay, double pronged. Well, first of all, what you need to do is you need to be downloading ChatGPT, Gemini. My other favorite is Claude and Perplexity. Those four, you can choose. You can choose Gemini, Gemini, Claude, or ChatGPT. You can choose one if you like. I highly recommend Perplexity as the second one. Download them on your
What
phone.
what is the second one?
Perplexity.
Perplexity.
Yeah. So
So Claude,
Perplexity is
Claude,
like,
Gemini, Perplexity.
yeah, yeah. So that's where I would start, because they all have different skill sets as such. Download them on your phone, and do three things a day. Number one, instead of going to Google, the whole saying Google it, go to Perplexity and type in your question in Perplexity. Not only will it answer your questions by searching the same results that Google did, but it will give you the outcome to what you asked for, rather than you having to search each of the sites, and it will give you follow-up questions that it can answer as well. So number one, whenever you go to Google it, change that to go to Perplexity. Second
Wonderful.
thing, every day, jump on ChatGPT, go onto voice mode, and just start talking to your AI. You can call it something if you like. I like to call it Chatty. Hi, Chatty. I'm just driving to the gym. I've just dropped my children off. I didn't feel like I spoke to them enough this morning. We spoke about what they excited about at school, what their teachers have been saying, and how they've been playing with your friends. But I'm looking for some real questions, deeper questions that I can ask them, so that I feel like I'm speaking to my children more than 44 minutes a day. Right? So then
Yeah.
ChatGPT comes back to me like a life coach.
And it's
Um,
talking to you.
and it's talking to me.
So
Um,
you're talking to this thing, and you're having a conversation with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Every day I go into Gemini and I try to do a deep research task. So whether that's a deep research task on business, let's say I was working with a consultant this week. She's doing sustainability. She's a sustainability coach. So the deep research was find as many competitors as possible, find out their price points, find out the problems they're solving, find out what their clients are saying, and write me a report and link it to my USP as a business. Deep research done. It will take 5 minutes. It will give you endless content and some thoughts of strategy for your business. And then the last one, Claude's my favorite. I use Claude as like I've got a whole lot of AI assistants in Claude, which are like projects. I have a newsletter writer in Claude. All of the learnings that I learn from AI throughout the week, I pop it in my newsletter AI assistant, and we go back and forth to create my newsletter that I release every Monday. And because I've got the knowledge, I pop it in. It has my frameworks around what my newsletter, how it should be formatted, who's it targeted at, why it's targeted at them, and then the knowledge of how I like to write, and pop that in. And my newsletter is written within 10-15 minutes that would normally take people half a day to do. So that's just an example of the 4 AIs that I use. So start really simply by using them. A little life hack for me is I I have recipes. I have a folder, a project for each of my children and their fussy eating. I could take a picture of my fridge and I could say, take a picture of my fridge and say, this is the food I've got in there. What can I make that will suit both of both of my children who seem to just love pasta and nothing else. Just life hacks like that. Just start using it for everyday life and think work and business, because like you said, things are changing. They are changing rapidly. And the generative AI tools now, once you learn to use them and it becomes your go-to, like put a sticky note on your laptop or on your phone that says, can I use AI to help me do this faster and better? Can I use AI to collaborate with? Can I talk to AI about this?
Well, that is incredible, folks. I mean, you just got in her last 5 minutes, unbelievably valuable information. And the reason why I say this, Marnie, is because uh, probably 99% of the people out there who are thinking about this don't know where to start. You just gave them the starting point. And everybody, here's a starting point. Get busy, right? And what we mean by get busy is not, spending endless hours. It's just taking the stuff and incorporating it into your life. And like you just said, Marnie, using ChatGPT and just talking to it. Because here's the other generative part of it, right? The other generative part of it is that as you're talking to it, it is learning you too, right? It's learning more and more about you. And so it can wow, this is amazing. So the four that Marnie just shared with us, and I was taking in some copious notes as you were talking, was ChatGPT, use it in voice mode. Um, Perplexity, use it instead of Google. Okay, so how easy is that, right? You don't have to. I mean, we all use Google, right? Just change it. Just go from Google to Perplexity. Use Gemini for deep research, and finally, Claude. Claude for your assistants and your newsletters, and yeah, go to these four things and just learn what they do. That's amazing. That is amazing.
Do you know what, John? I'd like to share a little story if I can, because I think it's going to help
Please.
with a bit of a mindset shift.
Wonderful.
So I think the way that we use AI is going to change the way we gather information and learn, like we've already discussed. I think it's going to change the way we communicate with each other. And I also think it's going to change the way we make decisions, right? But if we back up a little bit, the
Okay.
smartphone did exactly the same thing. And here I was, I'm going to show my age a little bit. Here I was sitting, I was about to graduate uni. I'm sitting in my grandparents' living room in sunny Australia by the beach. And there's my granddad, who's got his new iPhone and his new iPad sitting on his lap. And he's having a play around. He's having a great old time. I'm sitting there on my BlackBerry thinking it's the bee's knees and not wanting to change, because in my head I'm not techie, and why would I want to move to an iPhone? I don't know how to do those apps, and that will just take me so long, and that will just take me time, and this isn't going to catch on anyway. It's just a trend. Like, that was literally me at the ripe old age of 20, mind you. So it's not like I was thinking that I was too old for this tech. I just had this mindset block that I thought it was techie and it would be hard to
Sure.
change.
Yep. Yep.
But I changed because you had no choice. And here I am, what is it, 20 years later, 20 plus years later. I know everything about my iPhone. I communicate differently with it. I make decisions with it differently, and I gather information with it differently. And now we're about to move into that next shift of using AI. So just like you said, get busy, people, download the apps, just start using it, and just think about it as a person. I know you've said this before. Think about your AI as a person. Start talking to it like a person. Say please, thank you. Ask it to be the smartest best friend you've got, and get started. You will not regret it, and every part of your life will get so much better. And the most important thing to know is that we our jobs when iPhones came out or smartphones came out and social media came out. Some jobs were finished, some jobs completely changed, so the job descriptions changed, And then many jobs were also created. We're in that same thing. So yes, your job description will change, and depending on your industry, your job might not no longer exist, but something else exciting is coming if you can just have an abundance mindset and be super curious to what's out there. You won't regret it.
And um, a big part of victory will go to those who get busy now with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
don't mean to beat a dead horse, folks, but you know, this thing's happening, whether you're going to jump on it or not, right? And if you want to be able to be in a position to take advantage of all the what Marty was just saying, I mean, we have no idea what the opportunities are going to be. Um, but kind of shifting, but staying relative to what we're talking about, that human to human connection part of it, the human relationship part of it, right? I have a thesis that says, you know, I've always felt, and not always, but probably for the last 10 years, as I've been seeing the growth and the evolution of technology, we've become really smart. And I coined a phrase that says we've gotten so smart we've forgotten our heart. And you know,
Mm.
in the world of technology, it has always been STEM, you know, sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So that was the direction to go at. The world has changed. Do you disagree with that, Marnie?
No, not at
Okay,
all.
because I'll tell you something. I know lots and lots and lots of amazingly talented people in technology who can't find a job now. You know,
Mm.
and you know, from the standpoint of the intelligence and the intellect part of it, that's the first thing AI is taking over. And
Mm.
and I've always envisioned this day coming. I thought it was going to come. Actually, I thought it was going to come a little bit faster. But now that it's here, it's rolling over the world like a freaking bulldozer. And
Mm.
during that whole process, I've always felt that we are going to experience a renaissance of heart. And, you know, we are going to get back, you know, to the human connection, the relationship part of it. And now I'm feeling that both are true in that I think that the victory of tomorrow is going to be a combination of that human connection, of growing that muscle of our humanity and love, partnering with AI. And I'd like to get your view on that. What's your perspective as we move forward?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I
Okay.
think that we've already kind of seen it as well. Because if you think about, when I was in the health and fitness industry, there was a big boom in coaches, as an example, in like mindset or high performance coaches and or therapists. We in the definitely last decade, we've been working really hard on trying to be the best versions of ourselves. Trying to get the best, trying to understand family loyal behaviors, trying to understand the ego, trying to understand how we communicate with each other. I had a beautiful podcast interview with a lady who does non judgmental, not non conflict communication. Because we have to learn these skills. We've gone through times where we've not learned these skills at all. So now we're so
Absolutely.
much more open to working out us. And I think part of our human psychology is we all want to be seen and heard in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's going to really tie into that human connection that you're talking about. We are going to have so much more mental load, less mental load, so therefore mental capacity to be there for other people. And we're going to understand ourselves more and want to be there for other people. And I think AI tools will help us do that. But I also think the way we're going with AI agents and super agents doing some of our work, we're going to find more time for that. But what I think we have to be careful of is forming a new purpose. I had this conversation yesterday with a lady in a networking group. She's eco for all. And she was trying to convince me that I would have, we were talking about AI, obviously,
Hmm.
how she would convince me. And I said, we're going to have more time. She says, yeah, you can have more time to grow more vegetables in your garden. And she was talking me through things. And I just said, oh, Lynn, I'm so sorry. None of that appeals to me. I said, I think it's great, and I'll be your biggest cheerleader, and I'll create you an AI
Sure.
tool that helps you teach other people to do that. But nothing in my body wants me to grow my own vegetables. And she said, yeah, but it's easy. And I said, yeah, but that doesn't give me purpose, which makes
There you
me
go.
think that actually, if our jobs or our businesses or parts of our life is managed by an AI or even robots, let's not, sugarcoat the fact that robots are coming. Let's, if
Hmm.
that's all kind of taken care of, what does our purpose look like? If you're a
That's right.
stay-at-home mum, what does your purpose look like? If you're an entrepreneur who loves shiny objects like me, what does my purpose look like if I've already created all the AI tools that have grown my business? And the purpose will come down to communities and making an impact within your community, is my belief.
That is beautiful. I love that. I love that. It's, as we're moving forward but before maybe we can close on agents and super agents, right? I'll just tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
I created, but I haven't launched a course on retirement. And it is a course, I mean, the thing about retirement is 90% of the information out there is about money, is about building your retirement wealth. But I'll tell you, the hardest transition, okay, been there, done that. I'm blessed. I get that. I'm good to go with that part of it. Um, but the hardest part of it was one day waking up without my purpose. And
Yeah.
what I realized is that, and this is typical in what happens, Marnie. People go, "Oh my gosh, I am so ready to retire. I'm so happy. I'm going to retire day after tomorrow, and I'm going to travel. I'm going to catch up with my family. I'm going to hang out with my wife. Everything's going to be great, and I'm going to spend the next 3 to 6 months just figuring out what I want to do with the rest of my life." You know how fast 3 to 6 months goes by? Goes by like that, right? And one day you wake up and you go, okay, I just did my travel. I'm reacquainted with my wife, and she doesn't want me around. I thought I was going to get with her, and she complains about me rearranging her spices. Um, and I don't know. I don't. What do I do? Because all of a sudden, people wake up, and it's high performing people or people who had their communities at work. They are not there anymore, right? and
Yeah.
and it becomes a question of purpose, just like you said. And I loved how you framed it, because folks, our purpose is going to change. And as we move forward and these tools become more, I'm going to use a technical term, ubiquitous, whoa, right, more common. Okay, so that we're seeing it every day. And Marty mentioned we're going to see robots. You're going to see an explosion of robots that's going to happen starting in 5 years. It's crazy. And our lives are going to be great, but we're going to have to, it's going to be upon us to really get back to our humanity and figure out our why. And I love that, because
Agreed.
the answer could be beautiful. And it could go back to what I was saying, that renaissance of heart and technology that's going to drive that. And so if you would, because I think that's a good segue to talk about agents and super agents as our future. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Way to go, John. Thank you for letting me close on that.
Well, John, you have openly said you're the tech guy. I've openly said
Oh,
I'm the
I haven't said I'm
non-techie.
the tech guy. I said I was in high tech. I am not the tech guy. Everybody who knows me, who's listening to this, is going, no, no, no. John
He's
is
not the
not
tech
the
guy.
tech guy.
Okay, well, I'm going to explain it from a non-techie
Yes,
mindset that I've
please.
got because, like you said to me before, I'm very normal. I don't come from that tech. So here's how I understand
Yes.
agents. We're kind of there at the moment. There's quite a lot of super agents. I was just on an agent called Gen Spark just before, and I was creating a website for my sustainability coach I'm working for, like I said. And I basically gave it a prompt. quite an in-depth prompt about some of the Claude wrote the copy for the website for us, and Jen Spark had gone off and found some competitive research, and then I said I need it to be in a website, so it created the whole website for me, and it did it in, I think it was 9 minutes 30. Absolutely crazy. It looks beautiful, and then I've given that now to my tech VA to take that HTML, that code, and pop it into a domain hosted site, because again, that's not my thing, but the strategic part's done. That's my thing. So all done. But the great thing about those agents, and deep research of those agents as well, is that you give them a task and they go off and do it. So you'll see on your screen the agent going off and checking all the websites and doing the thinking and finding the information. So that's where they're at now, but they're still given parameters, right? So when that's kind of autonomous agent, and then the next step is becoming agentic, and that is where they can go off and do the task without checking in with you, and they can
Yes.
create that task. They can do it for you. They can learn off themselves. They will come back and have something completely created without you setting the parameters with that. So that's agentic, and depends on who you talk to, which AI expert you talk to, or from which company. Most likely on who thinks winning the race will tell you whether we've hit agentic AI or not. I don't know if you've any inputs on agentic AI, John.
No. Well, I mean, uh, it is our future. And
Mm,
this is where what you're doing today, Marnie, feeds into that model, right? And we just talked about Gemini, we talked about Claude, we talked about Perplexity, and we talked about ChatGPT. And part of the whole process is, as Marnie is talking to ChatGPT, that thing is getting to know her better and better and better and better. And next thing you know, in whatever amount of time, it's going to be able to think on its own based on what it knows about you, right, Marnie? And
yeah,
you're going to you're these what we mean by agents, right? Are these AI, you could call AI entities, right? Consider it a person. You have an AI agent that's really good at plumbing, or AI agent that you talk to about accounting, or an AI agent that you talk about that you set up for investments, whatever, right? They even have boss AI agents, where those AI agents communicate with the boss just like a person,
yeah,
just like
yeah,
people, right? And then that boss puts everything together and presents it to you.
yeah,
And you go, okay. So when we're talking about agents, think of people. I know I'm oversimplifying it, but just from the standpoint of thinking about, trying to visualize this thing, because AI agent sounds technical and super intelligent sounds technical, and chat GPT sounds technical. Just think about it as a person,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And it might take a little bit of that intimidation away.
Yeah. I think what's really important to note here, though, as well, is because you've talked quite a lot now about AI learning off us. And because I know we're moving to AI agents, and because I know the data to train these AI agents is going to be quite valuable, I'm actually moving myself and my clients to creating their own AI model. So I've white labeled an AI model. So instead of using ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini, you can use those AIs, but in your own AI model that you own. And there's two major reasons for owning that. First of all, you can control the security and the data. So
Ah,
those other AI models don't get trained on your information, just your model does, which doesn't suit everybody. I keep my security data on because I believe that we need to be training the AI to learn from us. So I don't have any personal information, or I don't have any massive IP that I need to keep, safe and secure. So I don't have an issue with that. But I know a lot of services do, and a lot of
mm-hmm.
companies do, and that's fair and that's fine. So I would say take your AI chats off those main platforms, and have your own platform for that one. But secondly, and probably most importantly, is that we are going to get to the point where you want to train your own AI agents, and you cannot take the memory or the chats that you've had on ChatGPT or the GPTs, or off Claude, or off Gemini, or off Grok, which is X's AI, or Llama, which is Meta's AI. You can't take that off. You don't own the chat or the data that you've had. Whereas if you have your own AI model, that's all saved, and you can take those chats you've had and you can use that as data to train agents. So that's where I'm moving. And I don't want to confuse your audience, but also I wouldn't be doing them justice if I didn't say that's where we're heading, and just to keep that in mind.
That is so cool. Thank you. Thank you. Because you said that's where you're moving, right? And so you've
Mm-hmm.
been where we've been talking about, you're moving to something better, and you just shared what that better is. And from a security, oh my, no, we won't even go into security, um,
Yeah.
that is wonderful. Creating your own AI models and
Mm-hmm.
moving forward that way. Marnie, this has been amazing. This has been
Oh, thank
wonderful.
you.
I mean, for me, it's I've learned a ton. I've learned a
Oh,
ton.
good.
Do you have any last message you'd like to leave with folks as they
Oh,
leave us and are thinking and think about what just hit them?
oh gosh. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want something motivational or more
Whatever's in your heart. Whatever's in your heart.
what's ever in my heart?
Yeah,
Okay, what's in my heart is
hit us with it.
I really want to make sure that everybody here listening understands that AI will change your life positively. There are pros and cons for everything. There's light and shadow side of everything. But do not get left behind. Jump on now, because life is going, well, the speed of AI is going really, really fast, that you will see so many changes in life that actually you then might fall further and further behind. Whereas if you jump on now, the confidence that using AI will give you
Yes.
is a game changer in itself, let alone how quickly you can progress your job or your business by using AI. And because you'll still be an early adopter, I got a bit of an ego boost. Everybody comes to me for AI advice, and I'm like, oh, wow. All because I started using it and just started using it every day. It's changed my life. So
That is,
don't
yep.
delay, don't be scared, just get started.
And the funny thing about being intimidated and being fearful of something is the more you learn about it, the less dark it becomes, right? The less fearful it becomes. And so, take this thing and just start playing with it. Start like Marnie said, start with ChatGPT and just start talking to it, and start using Perplexity instead of Google. Just start there, and um, and who knows
What's
where
that?
that path is going to lead you.
Yeah, and what's that saying? What you can do, I can do better. Like what you can do, I can do better.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
exactly what you think. What you can do, AI can do better. So why not use it?
yeah, yeah. I think there's a song. Anything you can do,
Yeah.
I can do better. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's
Yeah.
it. All right. All right. Marnie, thank you for this. This has been wonderful. And I know that everybody listening is either going, "Whoa, cool! Let's go download Perplexity right now and Chat GPT." Either that, or people are going, "Oh my God, what are they talking about?" But we tried to make it human, folks. And the irony of it is that this technology, for the first time, in my view, is going to make us more human.
Yeah, I love it.
Kind of cool. Kind of cool.
Love it.
Marnie, thank you. If people want to get more information from you, we got your contact information in the notes, but how best can people reach you?
Yeah, well, I hang out on LinkedIn a lot, so it's Marnie Wills on LinkedIn, or Instagram is business with AI underscore strategist. So yeah, just shoot me a
Okay.
message, reach out anytime. I'm happy to connect.
Thank you so much, Marnie. I love you. God bless you. Thank you for sharing. And everybody out there, folks, this podcast is called Finding Better. Okay. I love the dog. This podcast is called Finding Better, for crying out loud. And we just gave you, oh my gosh, this is a new starting point, folks. Okay. So with that, I love you. God bless you. Take action. Share this, please. And we'll see you next time. Bye.